Very pleasant good morning to you. Today we are going to start a new chapter, A House is Not a Home. Before we start the chapter, shall we first discuss like what's the difference between a house and a home? Yes, house is a place. House is a building made up of some material. Okay, house, you may live in that house, you may not. Okay, house is just a building made up of brick and cement and all. But whereas home is a place where we live together. Okay? Our dwelling place, the place where we live. The house where we live becomes a home when we live in it. Okay, house is, when we talk about a house, it means that we are talking about a building. But when we talk about a home, it means that we are talking about that house where we live. Okay. When we live in a particular house, it becomes a home, because in the home there is love, there is sweetness, there is soul. That is, we live in that place. So it is the human being who makes the house a home. Okay. So now we can start off. This story reflects the challenges of being a teenager and the problems of growing up. How does the author overcome these problems? That's this chapter about. Let's see. So here you will see the challenges being faced by a teenager and the problems of growing up. Somewhere or the other, you might also be able to relate it with you, right? So let's start off the reading only first. My first year of high school felt awkward. After leaving junior high at the head of my class, with all seniority, the upper grade levels could afford me. It felt strange starting over as a freshman. The school was twice as big as my old school, and to make matters worse, my closest friends were sent to a different high school. I felt very isolated. So for the teenagers, friends are very important. So how does one feel when one doesn't get the same friends at that place? So here we are going to talk about the author's first year of high school, right? So after leaving junior high school at the head of my class, as the head of the class with all seniority, the upper grade levels could afford me. So actually he had, of course, when you join your high school, then you'll have to leave your junior high school. And he had left his junior high school as the head of his class, and he always enjoyed that seniority. And now when he has come to the high school, then he would not be able to enjoy that seniority, because when you join a high school, there are grades. Okay, 9th to 12th is a senior most grade. Okay, when a child is in 9th standard, for example, then you might not enjoy that seniority which a child of 12th enjoys. Okay, so if we talk about 9th and 10th, the 10th happens to be senior than even 9th. So the people, those who are always, very fond of seniority and all, for them, a shift to a junior level is not very welcome step. But it happens, it's a life. So I felt strange starting over as a freshman. The school was twice, building wise, it was a very big school. And to make the number one, he was in a new school. Number two, his old friends were not there. So what were the first challenges he had to overcome? Number one, he now did not have that attitude of seniority here. Secondly, he did not even have his friends over here. Okay. I missed my old teachers so much that I would go back and visit them. So when children miss their teachers, especially the one who is not with them, then what happens? They go to the teacher and talk to them. So he visited the old teachers. They would encourage me to get involved in school activities so that I could meet new people. So the best way to adjust in your new school is like you start participating in activities. So the teachers told him about that. They told me that in time I would adjust and probably end up loving my new school more than I had my old one. They made me promise that when that happened, I would still come by and visit them from time to time. The teachers encouraged him to participate in the activities, and the way if he would be participating, then he would be able to adjust and would even start liking the school more than his old one. So they made me a promise that when that happened, I would still come by and visit them for time to time. So they told him, like, when you will be adjusted in your school, even then you can come to us. Even then he would be welcomed there. But I took some comfort in it nonetheless. So I understood the psychology in what they were saying, but I took some comfort in nonetheless. So point is, like, when teachers told him, okay, you can come later on also, the point is that the teachers were encouraging him to adjust in the new school. So he was able to understand, like, what the teachers were actually conveying. So anyways, even then he was relaxed in like whatever the teachers were saying, and he would accept that. One Sunday afternoon, not long after I had started high school, I was sitting at home at our dining room table doing homework. So one Sunday afternoon, he was sitting in his house, in his home, at the dining table, and he was doing his work. It was a cold and windy windfall day, and I had a fire going in our fireplace. As usual, my red tabby cat was lying on top of all my papers, purring loudly and occasionally swatting at my pen for entertainment's sake. He was sitting in his dining room and was doing some work. And as usual, he had a tabby cat. It was sitting with him and was was lying on top of all his papers. So as usual, my tabby cat was lying on top of my papers, purring loudly. What is purring doing? Purring loudly and occasionally swatting at my pen for entertainment's sake. She was never far from me. I had rescued her when she was a kitten, and somehow she knew that I was the one responsible for giving her the good life. So even animals are thankful. Okay. So even animals, they have heart, they have feelings, and even they show their gratitude through their gestures or through their actions. So that cat would always sit by him because she knew that it was this person only, the one who had brought her home and was giving her a good life. So my mother kept stoking the fire. My mother kept stoking the fire to keep the house nice and warm. So when you have a fireplace at home, then the fireplace needs to be attended to. So the mother was managing that fireplace because she knew that house has to be kept nice and warm. Suddenly, I smelled something strange. And then I noticed smoke pouring in through the seams of the ceiling. So mother had been tending the fire and all, but after some time, the narrator felt as if something was burning. He noticed this smell, and what he saw that smoke was coming out of the ceiling. The smoke began to fill the room so quickly that we could barely see, groping our way to the front door. So then smoke was all around, and the narrator and others, maybe the family, so they were trying to find their way to the front door. We all ran out into the front yard. By the time we made our way outside, the whole roof was engulfed in flames and was spreading quickly. Okay, so by the time they came out, thereby escaping themselves from the fire and smoke, they saw that the whole roof was engulfed in flames and it was spreading quickly. I ran to the neighbors to call the fire department while I watched my mother run back into the house. So when he ran to the neighbors to ask the fire department to come over, and then he watched his mother. These might be the times when there were no mobiles. Okay, landline might have been there. So when your house is on fire, you cannot, one cannot attend that. This call. My mother then ran out of the house carrying a small metal box full of important documents. So mother ran inside. When he was managing to call the fire department, then mother went inside again, and she brought a small metal box full of important documents. She dropped the case on the lawn and in a crazed state ran back into the house. I knew what she was after. My father had died when I was young, and I was certain that she was not going to let his pictures and letters go up in flames. They were the only things that she had to remember him by. Still, I screamed at her, "Mom, no." So say first time mother went inside and brought a big box of documents, and second time she again started going inside. Narrator thought narrator knew that she might be going inside to bring her husband's pictures and other things, letters, so that those things are not destroyed in fire. Even then, though this author knew that his mother, there is a reason for her going inside, but he also knew that it would not be, it would not be safe for her to go inside. So he asked her not to go. I was about to run after her when I felt a large hand hold me back. It was a fireman. I hadn't even noticed that the street had already filled with fire trucks. I was trying to free myself from his grasp, yelling, "You don't understand, my mother is in here." So the fireman stopped the boy from going inside, but he told him that his mother is inside. He held on to me while other firefighters ran into the house. He knew that I wasn't acting very logically and that if he were to let go, I would run. He was right. So the point is, the fireman stopped this boy from going inside because he knew that this boy had, would not be convinced very easily. So they kept on holding him tightly. So during this time, the other firefighters, they went inside and they might try to save the mother. "It's all right, they'll get her," he said. He wrapped a blanket around me and sat me down in our car. He wrapped a blanket around me and sat me down in our car. Soon after that, a fireman emerged from our house with my mom in tow. He quickly took her over to the truck and put an oxygen mask on her. I ran over and hugged her. All those times I ever argued with her and hated her vanished at the thought of losing her. So all those times I ever argued with her and hated her vanished at the thought of losing her. So he could not, he hugged his mother and could not forget the times when all those times I ever argued with her and hated her vanished. So when you love somebody, you don't even like to see that person being in danger because of one's own self. So she's going to be okay, said the fireman. She just inhaled a little smoke and then he ran back to fight the fire while my mother and I sat there dazed, dumbstruck. I remember watching my house burn down and thinking that there was nothing I could do about it. So then the narrator, he was looking at his house and he saw that his house was in flames and will soon be gutted to, ashes, but he could not do anything. So I broke down in tears and cried and cried. Okay, so he could not do anything about the fire, right? So eventually he gave up and sat in the car with his mother. 5 hours later, the fire was finally out. Our house was almost completely burned down. But then it struck me, I hadn't seen my cat. Where was my cat? Much to my horror, I realized that she was nowhere to be found. Then all at once, it hit me, the new school, the fire, my cat. I broke down in tears and cried, and I was suffering loss, big loss. So what had happened now when he saw that his whole house had been burnt to ashes? Then after 5 or 6 hours, he realized that even his cat was missing. It was found nowhere. It was nowhere. So now already this boy was already suffering from so many other problems. You people remember that he was in a new school where there he did not have any friends. Now the house was on fire. The house had destroyed the fire had been destroyed by fire, and one more calamity, that is the cat's loss. So many new problems came in his life. So I was suffering loss big time. The fireman wouldn't let us go back into the house last night. It was still too dangerous. Dead or alive, I couldn't imagine leaving without knowing about my cat. Regardless, I had to go. We piled into the car with just the clothes on our backs and a few of the firemen's blankets and made our way to our grandparents' house to spend the night. So the house was totally destroyed. They didn't even have much things with them, so they only had a few clothes, and the firemen gave them blankets. So they started moving towards grandparents' house to spend the night. The next day on Monday, I went to school. When the fire broke out, I was still wearing the dress I had worn to church that morning, but I had no shoes. So when he went to the school, he was wearing that very dress which he had been wearing in the morning to go to church. And moreover, he had no shoes. I had kicked them off when I was doing my homework. They became yet another casualty of fire. So even he had lost his shoes in the fire. So I had to borrow some tennis shoes from my aunt. Why couldn't I just stay home from school? My mother would hear of it. So boy felt like he did not have his shoes. He did not have the proper uniform, I guess. So he thought like, why not to take it off? But my mother would not hear of it. But I was totally embarrassed by everything. So mother was like adamant that he should go to school, but the narrator, he wanted to stay back. He didn't want to face that embarrassment. What embarrassment, children? That he was not in proper uniform. And moreover, there it was a new school, no his own friend. So in order to avoid all that embarrassment, he wanted to take an off. The clothes I was wearing looked weird. Of course, when you are coming to, when all children are coming to school in uniform, and when you go in civil dress, then you all feel uncomfortable, and you should. And so he was feeling very embarrassed. The clothes I was wearing looked weird. I had no books or homework, and my backpack was gone. I had my life in that backpack. The more I tried to fit in, the worse it got. Was it destined to be an outcast and geek all my life? So that's what it felt like. I didn't want to grow up, change, or have to handle life. If it was going to be this way, I just wanted to curl up and die. So this is what happens when somebody is surrounded by so many problems. Then one feels like giving up. Okay, so he did feel like living the life with all these changes. What he decided, I didn't want to grow up, change, or have to handle life. So usually people say like when there is some difficulty with you, when you have to overcome some challenge, then you face it. You don't give up. This is what people say. And when you don't give up, you face the problems. You grow up. Okay, you learn to be brave. You grow up. The maturity starts coming in. But narrator was not ready to have these kinds of adjectives with him. He didn't want to grow up. He didn't want to change. He didn't want to handle the problems of life. He just wanted to curl in and die. He just wanted to die simply. So this is what happens when somebody is actual trouble. I walked around school like a zombie. Everything felt surreal, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. All the security I had known from my old school, my friends and my house and my cat had been ripped away. So I wasn't sure what was going to happen. Why the life had become so unpredictable for him? Because everything had changed. Okay, whatever the security he had, biggest security in our life is children, our home. Okay, where we live with our family. So that's the biggest security we have, and we had lost even that security because they were homeless now. And even the old school was not there with him. His friends were not there with him. Now his house had also gone. And the worst thing was that he had even lost his cat. When I walked through what used to be my house after school that day, when I walked through what used to be my house after school that day, I was shocked to see how much damage there was. Whatever hadn't burned was destroyed by the water and chemicals they had used to put out the fire. So it was actually a very, very big loss, because when the house is burnt, then it's not just the building which has been destroyed, it's also like whatever is inside that also goes off. So he was very shocked to see that his house had, that they had, the whole thing had been destroyed. If not by fire, then by water or other chemicals which were used to extinguish the fire. The only material things not destroyed were the photo albums, documents, and some other personal items that my mother had managed to heroically rescue. So only those things which mother, like a hero, had brought out, only they were saved. But my cat was gone and my heart ached for her. So what happened? There was no time to grieve. So when somebody has this kind of, disaster happening in one's life, then there is no time to celebrate grief also. My mother rushed me out of the house. We would have to find a place to live, and I would have to go buy some clothes for school. So there was no time to grieve. My mother rushed me out of the house. We would have to find a place to live, and I would have to go to buy some clothes for school. So these were the, you can say, uh, first things they had to do. They had to find a house for themselves. They had to get the uniform and all, right? So that week, the rubble that used to be in our house was being cleared off the lot. That week, the rubble that used to be our house was being cleared off the lot. Even though we had rented an apartment nearby, I would go over to watch them clear away debris, hoping that my cat was somewhere to be found. She was gone. I kept thinking about her as that vulnerable little kitten. In the early morning, when I would disturb her and get out of bed, she would tag along after me, climb up my robe, and crawl into my pocket to fall asleep. I was missing her terribly. Right now, they got a house on rent somewhere nearby, and still the boy would go to that place to see and all. Yes, children, I will carry on the chapter tomorrow. Right now, I'm stopping sharing, and the class is also over. Okay, I have very important work. We'll start the class tomorrow. Okay, and tomorrow your test is of the chapter of all those topics which we have done so far. Okay, so all the chapters which we have done so far after your PT3, whatever we did in now, I mean when we came to school. So prepare that, right?